Let's talk about the price of shrinking yourself for peace within your family dynamic, within your friend group. Let's talk about the price of being the strong friend, of being the mother figure, and how that is hurting your connection with your body. Okay, y'all? I see some of y'all are coming through. If you haven't already, real quickly, today is the last day to join my free 5-day challenge. And what you're going to receive is 5 emails. You're going to have some rituals in those emails. And then at the end, you can join me live for a free call if you want. Okay. So at some point, make sure you go to the link in the bio. But today, let's talk about the price of being the bigger person. Let's talk about the price your body pays when you shrink yourself. Okay. So you'll see me looking down at my notes from time to time. I got my trusty laptop here because I want to stay on topic, okay? Hey, Miss Sapphire. Okay, so I want to tell you a story and give you an example of the price of shrinking and what it feels like to navigate this world as a grown woman still being sexualized in your family dynamic, okay? Have any of you had this moment in your life where you know for a fact that you're shrinking yourself to make sure your family doesn't say the wrong thing, to make sure you're not drawing negative attention to yourself? So you are teaching yourself to shrink in order to make sure other people behave, right? And there's a price, again, that your body is going to pay when you do this. So I want to tell you a little story really quickly. That way you can see if you identify with this in some way. One of the things that is a price of honoring a boundary, and the reason why people don't want to honor them is because you may lose someone. So last year I lost a beautiful connection with a family member, and it was because I told them to stop talking about my breast. In my family dynamic, since I was young, I've always had big breasts. And I've always had my femininity. I've always had my powers. And I've always understood that there was nothing wrong with that. And even as a 45-year-old, whenever I go home, the cousins, the aunties, even my grandma sometimes, they're like, cover up. And so it got to the point to every time I was talking to one of my male cousins, I would just be happy to talk to him. And the first thing he would say is, cover those things up. And I'm like, I'm covered. Oftentimes, because I'm so self-conscious sometimes when I'm with my family, one of the things I was noticing I was doing, and I had to stop doing this, was I would purposely wear tops that came up to my neck or dresses that came up to my neck and dresses that went down to my knees. Now, again, I'm 45 years old. What am I doing? What am I doing censoring myself with my family? And so I will never forget this. I told him, and it was hard because I love this cousin. And I said, hey, it really makes me uncomfortable. And I want you to stop talking about my breast. I said, do you realize every time we talk, you tell me to cover my breast up, or you tell me to put those things away, or you tell me to put those girls away. And I know in your mind, you're just teasing me. You're being a big brother. But for me, the little girl in me who was over-sexualized, the little girl who had her body violated more than once, it brings up this energy in me that doesn't belong there. And unfortunately, this cousin felt extremely offended that I would say anything to him about my body. And how many times have you been in a position to where you felt your body saying, I don't like this, and you dared to say something about it, and unfortunately the person you were speaking to, they blew up, or they decided they were never going to speak to you again, or they told you were being too dramatic, which was what my cousin told me. He said, you're doing too much, you're thinking about this in the wrong way, you need to shut the hell up about it. But it's my body. And that was a price I was willing to pay. I was willing to lose this connection with my cousin in order to be the powerful, grown-ass woman that the inner child needed. So when you talk about being disconnected from your body, A lot of times people, when they work with me, they're like, I'm an overgiver, I'm doing way too much, I just feel so disconnected. And part of that might be that you know for a fact you are shrinking yourself in order to make other people comfortable. Here are some examples of how you might be playing small or shrinking yourself for peace, and your body is paying the price. All right. Smiling through discomfort when a family member comments on your body. Avoiding expressing your style. Okay, that's glamour. Or sensuality, to avoid being called extra, to being called fast, to being told you're doing too much. Okay. An example is not correcting someone who crosses your boundary. And again, you know when your boundary is being crossed because you will feel it in your body first. Okay, another example is staying quiet at dinner tables where harmful language is used. Being the peacemaker while silently grieving your own needs. Feeling guilt for prioritizing your own healing and your own pleasure. So when we think about pleasure, a lot of times people limit the thought of pleasure to a connection, where bodies are tapping with other people. But pleasure for you might be finally listening to your damn body. Pleasure for you might be saying no. Pleasure for me in that moment was telling a cousin that I love to the moon and back, hey, I'm at a point in my life where I can't have you talk about my breast anymore. It doesn't feel like a big brother jab. It makes me want to shrink within myself. And we all know how big and bold I am. And even I have to constantly remind myself not to shrink. For me, it's not with strangers. It's not with the world. It's with my family. And I imagine if you're attracted to me, it's probably your family too. And your family could be blood family or chosen family. Another way shrinking shows up is avoiding movement. It's avoiding dancing. It's avoiding expressing yourself. So another example, I went to go see my family a few years ago. And again, I'm a 45 grown ass woman. And, we started doing the good old black electric slide. And I'm doing the electric slide like everyone else, like all the other girl cousins. And my aunts just single me out and say, stop all of that. There are elders here. And those of you who know the electric slide, there's not much you can do to sexualize the electric slide, but there's something about my power and my energy that just rubs some of my family members the wrong way still to this day. And so I was told to shrink, even though I wasn't doing anything. And I said, you know what? If that's how you feel about it, I won't move. And then my aunts started feeling guilty. And so they were like, well, hey, why don't you dance for everyone? And I honored my boundary with myself. I didn't ask them to change. I just told myself, no, you ain't doing it. I said, no, I will not be the one to subject myself to harm. And so again, when we are talking about boundary setting, the other part that I want to help you remember is boundary setting has nothing to do with shifting other people's behavior. It has everything to do with your commitment to shifting your own behavior, your discipline. Okay? We have a comment here. I recognize that feeling completely. I've said quite a few. I've dropped some bombs here. Let me know which one you're speaking of. I'm guessing, unfortunately, that you're talking about kind of being over-sexualized in your family or shrinking yourself for loved ones to keep the peace. And so what I want to invite you to do is think about these two things. I wrote two things down for the reflection. What if my silence is breaking my own heart, right? This is something that you can do to calm yourself down, to romance yourself when these situations come up. Just placing the hand on the heart and saying, what if my silence is breaking my own heart? What if playing small is a betrayal of the version of you who just wants to feel safe in their own skin? Okay? So if this is something that you have dealt with, again, go to the link in my bio. I have a free challenge going on. It's through email, so everyone can do it. Tonight it's ending tonight. I'm going to take the link down. And the burlesque rituals that I'm going to send to you via email are going to be rituals that I have used for over 20 years for my stellar performances and also my rituals at home, where you give yourself an invitation not to betray your body. You give yourself an invitation to be bold and big. And a lot of times when people first think of, I'm going to be big, I'm going to be bold, I'm going to be brave, I'm going to get into my body, I'm going to get into my sensuality, their thoughts go to how it's going to affect people around them or how it's going to affect strangers. And I was born to remind you of your own medicine and how important it is to always come back to yourself. Okay. Oh, thank you so much for co-signing the stellar performances. Okay. What I have done is I have taken my way of performing, my what I like to call moving affirmations, and created these 9 principles. And this is what I'm going to be teaching you in this free challenge. Here is a beautiful practical assignment that I wrote down for y'all. And this is a burlesque boundary ritual. Let's talk about how burlesque ties into this. Let's talk about how burlesque is going to help you stop shrinking yourself. Burlesque is the only art form that gives you that full autonomy. And we all need moments where we are being conscious about our autonomy. And I want to be very clear. When I say thinking about taking your power back, your body back, your autonomy, your agency, this is not limited to a traumatic event. I also know that I was born to remind you that feeding yourself, loving yourself, healing, okay, it doesn't have to be connected to a traumatic event, right? We are going to heal intentionally through the art of burlesque because burlesque gives us this moment to have autonomy. I like to give the example. If you've ever gone to work sick, that was a moment where you did not give yourself autonomy and you had your reasons why you decided to push through. However, that was a moment where you abandoned yourself. And so you need to then replenish yourself, right? So think of it as every time we abandon our intuition and when our body is saying, honey, I'm ready to eat, I'm hungry. And we're like, later, hold on. We're like, later. And next thing we know, our stomach is growling loud as hell. And so when we have these moments where we abandon our intuition, which means we abandon our body, we have to pour back into ourselves, okay? And burlesque gives you that because you have full autonomy. Nothing is going to happen to your body unless you say so. And also, nothing is happening in your mind unless you say so, okay? Burlesque is one of the oldest forms of theater. And theater is all about telling a beautiful story. And I want you to understand that the stage is you. The stage is your consciousness. The stage is your commitment. The stage is your discipline. And discipline is only a romantic commitment to self. It isn't something you have to dread or fear, right? So here is your burlesque assignment. I got another appointment, so let me give y'all this assignment real quick. Okay, rehearse your boundary in the mirror. Number 1, step 1. I want you to put something on that makes you feel bold, not comfortable. You've spent your whole life being comfortable. Okay, so that's a beautiful red lip. That's a black lip. That's a purple lip. That's glitter lips. That's a head wrap to rev up that crown, protect the crown. That's some body oil. That's for you. Whatever feels like you need to do this for the parts of you that you. All right, that was my alarm. I should be back now. Okay, then I want you to stand in front of a mirror and rehearse saying the soft boundary to yourself out loud. Practice saying, that makes me uncomfortable. Please don't comment on my body. I'm not available to that kind of energy anymore. When you say these boundaries, I want you to see them as romantic poems to self. I want you to see them as a commitment to self, and I want you to move in a burlesque fashion. So that is reconnecting to the body. That is bringing your energy in. Yes. So that makes me uncomfortable, right? And you notice for me, I started near the throat chakra and went down to the heart. right? So this way you are activating your throat, you're activating your courage, you're activating your willingness to stand on business for yourself. You're activating your willingness to make your inner child proud, to keep your promise to her, to him, to them. That makes me uncomfortable. Starting with the throat chakra and saying that makes me uncomfortable, going down to the heart. I want to encourage you to start here and go to the heart so that you are also letting your body know, you're letting your mind know that you enforcing a boundary with self first as you practice with yourself, and maybe you'll say it to someone else. It is not about you closing off your heart so that you're not hurt. It's actually about bursting your heart open even more, but understanding that you have all of these beautiful years of experience and you have more discernment now. And now you are healing through the art of burlesque because you are telling yourself a new story. You're honoring your pleasure. Your pleasure in this moment is to honor a boundary so you can honor your body, and you can honor your body so that you do not feel like you betrayed your own self. Okay? Then I want you to add a simple moment of teasing. Yes. So this is where you are going to, after you caress your body, if you have on a beautiful clothing, like a gown or something, whatever you have, maybe you just have your lipstick on. If you just have your lipstick, maybe you can wipe a little bit of it off, look at it on your finger and wipe it. I want you to strip away the negative or harmful thought that you are telling yourself when it comes to you implementing this boundary, right? This is what I had to do before I had the courage to tell my cousin, hey, I don't want you to talk about my breasts anymore. I let myself practice, right? And I want you to do the same. And I want you to think about every time you take something off, this is you shedding a layer of fear of you being too much. The last thing I wrote down was to simply smile at your reflection and say, I honor the child who wanted to feel safe. I honor the woman who gets to feel free. Whatever your gender is, put it in there. And then I want you to end by journaling about how you feel. Okay? That is the assignment. The assignment is to stop shrinking yourself. Playing small can go wrong for you. Y'all remember that skit from Dave Chappelle, when keeping it real goes wrong? When being the peacemaker goes wrong? When you don't enforce your boundary, how can it go wrong? How are you betraying yourself? And thinking about, this is a betrayal. It is not for you to then spend eternity judging that. This is just an invitation for you to take ownership of your liberation. All right? Okay, I've got to go. I have a session with the client. I hope this is helpful. I will share the replay. Don't forget, I am taking the link down for my free 5-day challenge at midnight tonight. This is April 10th. If you happen to be looking at this in the future, if the free challenge link is gone, not to worry, there'll be other resources for you. But I want you to participate in this. If you've already worked with me, do it again, because listen, you can keep feeding yourself a good meal. I love a good taco night. I've had tacos many times, and I'm not going to stop eating them. I'm not going to stop eating them, y'all. And so when you think about your healing journey, remember, you can keep coming back to the source of your liberation. Okay? So what you're going to receive is 5 different emails. Those emails are going to offer short videos for those of you who are like me and you need a visual and audio, to learn to really get things in. But if you're a type of person who you just like to read, you just want a step-by-step guide, there will also be a step-by-step guide in there for you. There will be some encouraging love notes from yours truly, and you'll receive 5 different emails. And at the end of the 5 days, what you're going to do is join me for a free training live online, or you can opt in for a free 15-minute consultation if you're interested in diving deeper. To those of you who are just joining now, thank you so much. I'm getting ready to share the replay. Today, we're talking about the price of your silent sacrifices, okay? And how you may be the cause of feeling disconnected from your body. But to quote my teacher, Rachel Rogers, that's good news. When it's your fault, it's great, because then you know for a fact that if you made your bed, you can also lie in it in a good way. All right. here we go, everybody. I hope this training was, good for you today. Let me know. Go to that link in the bio. If you don't want to sign up, please share it with someone. I have a goal of reaching 500 people with this challenge, okay? The same way you will go and share negative news, I want you to train yourself to also share light with the same quickness. All right, until next time, y'all. Bye.